Fighting games have always been a staple of gaming ever since their popularization with Street Fighter II and its many editions. It went on to spawn the wave of arcade fighting games back in the 90s. This includes games like Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, Darkstalkers, Fatal Fury, which would later become King of Fighters, Virtua Fighter, Samurai Showdown, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Soul Calibur, and Tekken, just to name a few. All these franchises competed with each other in arcades at the time. They were all unique in their own way. No matter how many fighting game clones, these franchises stood out. Gaming wouldn't be here today without Street Fighter 2. There was a problem though, and that was market oversaturation. There were so many copies trying to get into the fighting game success that there was a time called the Dark Age of fighting games. Well, yes, there were some greats like Guilty Gear and Tekken 4 and Soul Calibur 2, but people had kind of moved on from fighting games at this point. Now, what was going to bring them back? Well, none other than Street Fighter 4, when it released back in 2008. It brought fighting games back and better than ever. Thanks to it, we got Mortal Kombat 9, King of Fighters 13, Guilty Gear Xrd, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Injustice: Gods Among Us. But that was over a decade ago. How well does Street Fighter 4 hold up today? Well, luckily it holds up great. The way I played it was I still had my Xbox 360 disc copy from forever ago, and I was able to put it into my Xbox One and play it. You can get it on Steam, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S with backwards compatibility, PS3, PS4, PS5, but be warned, if you have a copy of the PS3 version, you might want to play the game on your PS4 or PS5 because you'll have to eventually pay $25 for it. And lastly, and definitely least, do not buy the iOS or Android versions. So, this game is still actually pretty accessible. And Street Fighter 4 aged incredibly well also. The gameplay is still incredibly tense and smooth. Combos are still rewarding, but hard to pull off. The super stressful matches are still here, but they feel even more intense somehow. This might be because I've gotten older and am much better at fighting games now than I was. When I was younger, I didn't really know how to pull off supers, ultras, or charges. This was due to the lack of explanation in the menus. I still think that this game could have done a little bit better job explaining what a charge or a 3-punch is. This meant that I was never able to actually unlock Gouken or Seth. Luckily, this never hindered my experience of the game when I was younger. It actually made for a really rewarding experience revisiting Street Fighter 4. I really miss unlocking characters this way. It feels so rewarding to be arcade with 3 perfects, 3 ultra finishers, and no retries to be able to fight Gouken and unlock him as a character. Now to get characters in fighting games you have to cough up $30 for a season pass. The feeling of satisfaction is gone with Smash Ultimate being one of the few games to do something like this. Playing through the arcade mode was the highlight of Street Fighter 4 for me. That's where the fights get really intense as you progress through the different stages. You need to apply all the skills you learn throughout these challenges because that's where you'll need them. The final boss is Seth, and he is everything I hate about fighting games mashed into one. Low range attacks, weird projectiles, unblockable grabs, and special moves that do way more damage than they should, and I love it. With my main being Sakura, you could probably see where the pain comes from. I also forgot what Street Fighter 4's combo system felt like. In other games like Mortal Kombat where you chain together 20 hit combos that take away 15% of your enemy's health whenever you want. Street Fighter 4 has super precise moment-to-moment gameplay. You wait for your opponent to make a mistake and punish accordingly. It's very defensive and you only have a small 4 to 5 hit combos that don't do a whole ton of damage but adds to the preciseness of your decision making. The supers and ultras are your basic big flashy finisher type moves. You usually use them near the end of the round. If you mess up your ultra or super, you're kinda dead. All this adds to both fighters having barely any health and trying to get in that last hit near the end of the game. This is where the game peaks because you're super stressed since your next move could be your last. I don't really have a whole ton to say about the online of Street Fighter 4 because nobody is ever really online. There isn't a matchmaking system, so you have to find rooms in either casual or ranked lobbies to fight in. I couldn't ever join these rooms for some reason. But you know how I did test out the online? Just like back in the old arcade days, random people can hop into your arcade game if you let them. This can get annoying if you forgot to turn it off, but for the most part, it's pretty cool. The online still functions pretty well, and the netcode is actually really solid to play this day. The 13-year-old netcode is still better than Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's netcode because Nintendo refuses to fix it. I really wish fighting games just like, take the time, use rollback netcode, okay? Because it makes your online so much better, okay? Okay, rant over. Anywho, right now, Capcom, the makers of Street Fighter, is on fire after a long dark age. In the past few years, we've gotten smash hits like Resident Evil 7, Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil 2 Remake, Devil May Cry 5, most recently, Monster Hunter Rise. There's one thing though, this is also the dark era of Capcom fighting games. Street Fighter V wasn't really received well, and it didn't carry the popularity that Street Fighter 4 did. This was due to the lack of content and launch, character designs, and being exclusive to the PlayStation 4. Well, yes, Street Fighter V has improved over the years, and it still leaves a massive mark on Capcom as a whole. The same can be said for Capcom's other flagship fighting series, Marvel vs. Capcom, with the infinite launch of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Oh yeah, I also almost forgot about Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Luckily, there have been rumors of a Street Fighter 6 floating around, but we have yet to see any confirmation to these rumors. Though, Street Fighter V is getting its last content drop this summer, so maybe Capcom is moving on to work on Street Fighter 6? For now, we have this masterpiece of a game, Street Fighter 4, to visit for the time being. And remind us when Capcom fighters are great. I do think that we have some great fighting games right now with Mortal Kombat 11, Tekken 7, and Samurai Showdown reboot. We have some promising upcoming fighting games on the horizon like King of Fighters 15 and Guilty Gear Strive. For now, all we can do is wait and see.